Tipp Today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Welcome along to Tipp Today, 1800 938 007. Our free phone number won't cost you if you'd like to make a call to us. And Leanne is producing today. We're coming to you live from Pearse Street in Nenagh, and as ever it's great to be back here in Nenagh and bumping into all of our great friends. Coming up on the show this morning, Johnny Luby will join us in just a few moments' time. Deputy Ruth Coppinger will talk to us following her fox hunting bill that was brutally voted down in the Dail. Councillor Shane Lee will talk to us about addiction. Ultan has the gardening today, and our psychotherapist Joannes Berkery will join us as well. And needless to say, it being Friday, our Friday panel will unpack the hot topics of the week. All of that and more on the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tippfm.com. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers. The Irish Daily Mail telling us that pensioners are taking advantage of a social welfare loophole that allows them to claim more money than they're entitled to. Now, a guy called John McKeown, who is Secretary General at the Department of Social Protection, is more concerned about pensioners than job seekers when it comes to welfare fraud. As a result of that, the Irish Independent, the lead story on the Indo today, Irish households are likely to save an even higher percentage of their disposable income over the next few years, according to the central bank. And it expects the savings rate to reach 15.9% by 2028. But the front of the Indo is dominated by a photograph of protesters lighting fires and hurling potatoes at riot police in Brussels yesterday as tensions boiled over at a demonstration against the EU's planned Mercosur trade deal. But Ursula von der Leyen told EU leaders the signing would be postponed to January, but it looks like that's going ahead anyway. The Irish Times and the lead story on the Times today, an increase in litigants engaging in disruptive and sometimes violent behaviour in court requires a crackdown on such conduct, the President of the High Court has said, warning that this behaviour could result in criminal prosecution. Also on the Times today, tighter budgets and a squeeze on unplanned spending increases in the coming years are in prospect as the government prepares to unveil its medium-term fiscal and structural plan later on today. I can't wait for that. I'm sure you'll be the same. And finally, a look at the Irish Examiner and the lead story on the Examiner today. Road safety campaigners have slammed the government for a damaging U-turn on what they say is critical reform of the Road Safety Authority. And also reading on the Irish Examiner today, that cocaine is continuing to pour into the country to feed the Christmas party market after Gardaí and Customs made another major haul of the drugs. And that's a look at what's making headlines on some of your newspapers today. If you want to make comment on any of that, again, text WhatsApp 083 311 3311. It's time for Johnny Luby. Morning, Johnny.
Good morning, Fran, and good morning to the listeners of Tipperary.
God, you're sounding very calm and benign today. Is that because you're sitting in my chair?
Yeah. Come here a minute. This is talk about me being calm. What about John McGrath, the famous Tipperary hurler, getting married today? I said to him, you'll be under pressure. And he said, listen, you don't know what pressure is, man. When you play against Cork, Clare, Waterford and Limerick full back line and the Kilkenny full back that, he said, that is savage pressure. He said, this thing, he said, I'm taking it in my stride. So heartiest congratulations to them both and the best wishes for the future.
Fantastic indeed. Now, speaking of the GAA, do you want to start with what's happening this weekend, Johnny? I think, is that it?
That's right, Jeff. And Upper Church Drumben, of course, they carried the light for Tipperary this weekend. They played the All-Ireland semi-final of the Premier Intermediate Hurling in Portlaoise on Sunday. They played Danesfort, who are the Kilkenny champions. Both of them had the same colour jerseys, black and amber, so they tossed for it, and Upper Church Drumben retained theirs. I don't know what colour Danesfort are now, but it's going to be a huge game, Fran. It's huge up around the church and the hills and around Drumben and the neighbouring parishes. I mean, like, for a team to get to an All-Ireland semi-final, it's unbelievable, and the very best of luck to them. I just wrote a few lines about it where I said in Portlaoise, Upper Church Drumben, they hold centre court. In the All-Ireland semi-final, they play Danesfort. They represent Tipperary, North, South, the Mid and the West. From all in the Premier, we wish them the very best. I have no doubt sure the hills will be ablaze, as out on this wonderful pitch we certainly gaze. We sincerely hope that you make your mark. The prize for the winners is Fame Crow Park. For the victory, yes, you are only 1 hour away. Please God, the church can do it on the day. So we wish good luck to all of them. And don't forget to tune in to Paul. He'll be on Tip FM.
Mike, you're going to have to put a book together of all of those scribblings.
yeah, fine.
But you've done so many of them over the years, John.
Yeah. Jeez, how long am I on now?
Oh, too long.
Yeah, I must look at the wage packet till I see have I the 1.5% paid actually since I don't know, it is on a long time, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant altogether. And the under 21
that's
then.
right,
What's happening there, Johnny?
Yeah, in the under 21A semi-finals we have Golden Kilfeacle, my own parish, take on the might of Holy Cross Ballycahill. That match is in Bench on Sunday next, please God, around 1 o'clock. Golden Kilfeacle have a nice team, but Holy Cross Ballycahill, they look superb against the Sarsfields last Sunday evening in the rain below in Feathertown Park, which is a magnificent venue, and that. But Golden Kilfeacle have maybe 10 or 12 of the players that have Harty Cup medals, and look, I've no doubt they're possibly, they would say themselves, maybe in bonus territory, as are Holy Cross Ballycahill, because they came through a tough mid-campaign. But it promises to be a great game. But I suppose for Golden Kilfeacle, look, Fran, all we can do is do our very best on Sunday, please God, and the best of luck to all the lads. The other semi-final then is between Borrisalee and Ballingarry. That game is in Cashel. Borris look very good against the Silvermines, especially in the second half, so it promises to be a wonderful occasion. Cashel and Bench on Sunday next. Mycarkey, of course, your old parish, they defeated Lockmore, which is a huge surprise in the under-21 football B semi-final or B final, and now they take on I don't know who they're actually taking on. I can't even read my own bloody writing.
Are they playing Arlo?
Oh, they are, yeah. Jez, how did you know that now?
You see, look, I'm like an oracle here.
Oh, Christ, I don't know where my pieces of note. I didn't buy else pocket, but anyway, they do take on Arlo, and look, Front is all systems go in the football as well for my Kerky Boroughs, but fair play to them. Look, they've got this far, and the best of luck to them. I can't forget the Borlahan Duella car draw. It's on during January, but as we often say here, look, 3 for €50. Get your tickets any place, but there's a bit of a bonus ball, 0 alcohol above in Lacey's, so you can kick on with Tony when you see him. We have to congratulate the new PRO, Michael Quinlan from the Silvermines. He beat our man and Thomas Barrett. Our man was Brian Fogarty. Put up a great vote, really. He was beaten by 20 odd votes in the end, but the best of luck to Michael Quinn from the Silvermines and Thomas Barrett and Brian Fogarty. Well done to them. They all would have made tremendous PROs, but look, that's the way it goes. That's why we have this voting and all of that. I was talking to a well-known man there lately, Mr. Tim Floyd. And we were talking about houses and rural families and the GA in decline and having to join up with other parishes and all of that. And Tim made a very valid point when he said, he said the small houses had huge families. Yeah. And the big houses have only one in the family. So, it's important that Dare won't say, should the women keep breeding? But that's neither here nor there, Fran. I haven't said now, haven't I?
Oh, Lord, he's trying to get me into trouble again.
In the rugby, Fran, defeats for Nenagh, Ormond and Cashel, only by a couple of points here and there. And Clonmel had a big victory for a senior club. Munster won last weekend, but they were not impressive. And Leinster and Connacht win. Ulster were beaten. But tonight we have the big game there on Tina G between Leinster and Ulster. And of course, then Stevens' Day, a sellout crowd in Thomond Park for the usual game between Munster and Leinster. Tomorrow, Fran, in Tullis, starting at 12 o'clock, we have that wonderful race meeting. It's the biggest day of the year. It's probably one of the biggest days around Ireland for a rural racetrack like Tullis, who are in a small bit of bother during the year, but people have rallied to the cause, and they'll have a huge crowd there tomorrow. Get there on time. The facilities are huge, Fran. You can have soup and sandwiches, tea and sandwiches, a bit of dinner, or whatever the case may be, but the facilities are fantastic, with firm ground all over the place for the many people that will arrive there with the youngsters and all of that.
And in the Greyhounds, Johnny, what's
oh yeah, Fran, in the Greyhounds. You heard of that famous family from Rose Green, the Cormacks?
I did. I told them well.
Look, it's like the mafia. You have Roundy, you have Jim'll Fix It, you have Skippy, you have Lamb. Of course, you have the great Hennessy, who resides in Galbally and gives the Limerick lads tugs of it. He's the only blue and gold flag flying in Galbally when Tipperary are playing. But himself and Ferry and Darren Cormac, or Darren Buttons, had a winner last weekend in Clonmel, now qualified for Powerstown Park, please God, in February. But Darren will be listening to Ferry tell a story, and he's a great man at telling stories. So Darren called the Greyhound Tell On Ferry. So anyway, I said the celebrations were good, you know what I mean. They celebrated over in that lovely Rose Green. They had the trials. They had won the trials. They're qualified for Clonmel. The following is the truth, as best I can tell. They went to Glenworth and Fermoy as the rains came teeming down from the sky. The weather, it was indeed very scary, but victory it came to Darren and the Ferry. Davy Flanagan, the trainer, is top class, it's true. She won by lengths, that I tell you. Tell On Ferry is the bitch's name. She is bred in the purple for the Greyhound game. I wish you the best. Powerstown Park is now the abode. It comes from me, Johnny Luby. Where do I live, Fran? On the Fourpenny Road.
Oh, that's brilliant. But you have to put a book together.
Yeah, but Fran, years ago, you see, there was a big match between the two parishes there, Cashel Kincormacs and Rose Green. So it was now, of course, Ferry be brought in front of the stewards and the whole lot. He had a bet on himself to score a goal against the famed Kilcormac. So the ball came in on you, and Ferry double pulled on it and buried it in the back of the net. And the big heading was on the Nationalist was, the crowds they roared when Ferry scored.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant.
So,
you wanted to thank people for all their support of charities over the years.
That's right, Jeff. Yeah. Especially during this year. Like, they've been absolutely fantastic. When one looks at the Light Up Nenagh last weekend, friend, the crowd was absolutely huge. A sincere thanks to everybody who at the North Tipperary Contractors Association. They raised, Fran, over 50,000. Unbelievable in a tractor run, and the youngsters there, and they staring at the lights on the tractors, and Santa Claus is here, there, and every place else. It was a wonderful to get to raise those funds. But any funds at all, Fran, whether it is €500 like the Raceway in Rose Green, whether it is the Douala Association with their tractor run in Care, or the one in Cashel, or all over the place, they're all greatly appreciated by the various charities, you know. And look, I'd just like to say thanks to everybody, and especially the guards who have done their time on the streets last Sunday night, especially in Nenagh there with youngsters and that. You have to be very, very careful. So look, hey, thanks to everybody concerned.
For sure. You know, Deputy Michael Murphy was on to us, and he is extending an invitation to you to come to Leinster House for a fact-finding mission, and then Michael says he can then report back to a Tipp Today. So there you go.
Tell him I'll meet him in John Herney's in Clara, and there we'll conduct the business of the day. But mentioning Michael Murphy, and I hope he's listening, and the other 4 or 5 TDs out there, Fran, I have a thing.
Oh, you're not going to start another?
No, I'm not. No, but I honestly believe, you see, I'm on the 0-0 stuff now.
Yeah.
And that's why
I believe you, John.
Yes, friend. That's why I need the lad Shawnee in the bridge will tell you, Trevor will tell you I'm on the 0-0 for the moment. But I think that the 0-0 should be only half price, friend.
I agree with you.
I mean, it's $5.50.
Well, that's not Michael Murphy's voice.
But he's in the Dail. The government don't, and he's in the government, and the government don't give two hoots, because when you have $5.50 for a pint of 0-0 and $5.50 for the same pint, a real pint, I mean, sure, there has to be something wrong. Give the drivers a chance in this day and age.
Right, but I presume the companies will tell you it costs the same amount to make the 0-0 as it does the rail deal, as they say.
Fran, look, we have to start someplace.
Right.
And if I tear in with yourself and herself and 2 or 3 others, and I'm the designated driver, just give me a chance. Don't put me on the water or the orange or 7-Up or any of them things.
Yeah, but sure, that's expensive too. So.
It is, yeah, but like, hey, I've no doubt now, look, we'll start it up, Fran, and that is it. And of course, Fran, another bugbear of mine that's getting on my nerves when I talk to small employers is this 1.5%. That's going to drive the cost of living to the clouds. You look at a transport person there that's involved in transport and has maybe 15 or 20 lads working for him. He now has to come up with the 1.5% for each one of them, which could come to about maybe €400 or €500 a week.
What, that's auto-enrolment you're talking about,
that
is
thing.
it?
Which is the same bloody thing we're talking about.
Trying to follow what you...
Yeah, it's the same thing we're talking about. Like,
right.
You just say a transport company, like, they have to do it now for their employees. So as a result of that, then they will have to charge extra to the supermarkets and the whole lot, because it's costing them more money to do this. The supermarkets will have to rise their costs as well, because they have to do it for their employees, and the fact that he has been delivered in by the transport people. This is going to drive the thing sky high.
It is, but sure, they'll tell you we have an ageing population. We won't be able to afford pensions in the long term, so we have to do something about that. So that's what...
How much are they putting in themselves, the government?
Oh, well, they're not putting anything into it, I suppose, are they?
I think, well, they will be. Or they'll have to...
No, it's the companies that will be.
No, the government have to give something as well. I'm nearly certain of it. But you see, what are they giving only our money? It's a case of live horse and you'll get grass. That's what I think about this 1.5%. I think, look, you must remember this, Fran, we'll finish it on this, that if an employee has, just say, take home €500 and he's only barely surviving between mortgages and paying a car, insurance and the whole lot, he now won't be taking home €500. He's now be taking home roughly €492.50.
Right.
So he's down $750 immediately.
Well, the guy who's taking... but he has the benefit, though, of, squirreling away a few
bob. That's my point. That's live horse and you'll get grass. Have they a choice in it? I don't think they have.
Well, you have an opt-out. Yeah, you have an opt-out.
Oh, Jesus. Now, what about myself with Tipp FM? What am I on?
Well, you see, we're guaranteeing you a pension. We're guaranteeing you a pension.
Oh, Christ, Fran, stop.
I don't know, did you want to pass on sympathies, Johnny, to everybody, I suppose?
Yeah, I suppose when
all the families out there.
Yeah, when one hears of the deaths, we'll say roughly 182 or 3 people out there killed on our roads during the year 2025. Now, Fran, there's 360 days in the year, and the amazing thing about it is that's one every 2 days. Yeah. It is frightening to think that, and look, my heart sympathies to everybody who lost loved ones during the year, but especially to the people of the tragic road accidents around the country. For the Gardaí, Fran, to go to somebody's door, I don't think they have been trained for this in Templemore or wherever.
I can't imagine what that is like.
It is frightening to get a knock on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have to tell somebody the bad news. My heart goes out to everybody, the people concerned receiving it, and to the Gardaí for the people involved in relating that. It is unbelievable that now Superintendent Eddie Goldman was on during the week talking about drink driving, drug driving, and of course speed as well. We have to take everything into account, and that's myself included, Fran, and that's why I've gone on the 0-0, and look, hopefully I'll stay on it and that's it. Yeah, of course, Fran, you were talking then during the week of the memorials on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I think they're brilliant insofar as that they do serve as a huge reminder to all road users that there was a tragic accident here. That's the way I look at it. And 99 times out of 100, when I see it, I just say, Lord have mercy on that person, whoever it is. I don't think.
So you think they shouldn't be banned?
I don't think they should be banned. They serve as a reminder, friend.
Yeah.
You know, and you see it yourself when you're going up to Nenagh there this morning, or you're coming back down, you'll see it on the side of the road, and what can you do? But it is a reminder.
Yeah, the TII are pushing this, and I think they're talking about, safety risks as being their primary concern there. Johnny,
listen, they have to justify themselves anyway. They'll always come up with something, won't they? When we know ourselves that the roads are in a scandalous condition.
Yeah.
They're talking about bypassing Tipperary. A chap asked me last night, was it in the Bridge House, when do you think Tip will be bypassed? I said, Tip will never be bypassed. I said, for God's sake, stop the lights, will you? I said, if it is, I said, it won't be in our lifetime anyway. But, of course, Fran...
Well, there's plans to do it, in fairness. There's plans
everything is in the thing. It's like the Minister for Health. Everything is in
You're very grumpy today,
I am,
Johnny,
yeah. Look, I am. Well, yeah. But anyway,
you're going to be back. You're going to be back with us on Christmas Eve. Will you be in better form at that?
I probably will, yeah. Come here a minute. This is, of course, Micheál Martin. I was under savage pressure.
I knew you were going to get
week.
the poor old Micheál, yes.
Yeah, savage pressure during the week. How in the name of God to this day didn't he listen to he has 14 or 16 ADCOMs working with him, and every one of them is on a couple of thousand a week. And to say that he couldn't listen to them, that'll just go to show.
These are his advisors you're talking about, is it? Yeah.
Well, should have the same thing we're talking about, really. But, he won't listen to any of them. I don't know what he even wants him for. And then when the thing hits the fan, he absconds over to Europe and gone off then to say thanks to the lads who are trying to get peace, whatever it is. And he's not there to face the firing squad. I think it's an absolute scandal the way that Jim Gavin was parachuted into all of this, and all the top class lads that are in Fianna Fáil and wanted to go and couldn't go. The same thing in Fine Gael. They had your man down there in Kerry, a top class man. GA's played in 32 counties.
Sean Kelly,
Sean Kelly, top class guy. He'd have waltzed in. And Mairead McGuinness. But anyway, look, listen, who's listening to me this morning, friend?
Do you know, I figured it out, Johnny. I know why you're so grumpy. It's the 0-0.
Yeah. Actually, Trevor came up with a good idea. He said, you should bring in...
Trevor and Sir Rowlands.
Yeah, you should bring in, he said, a tin of Andrews. And he said, I'll give you a spoon in the glass every time you come up. But anyway, fine. To probably be cheaper. The 0-0 at $5.50 a pint and an ordinary pint at $5.50. I mean...
We'll have to start a campaign, Johnny.
Yeah, Fairy actually filled the cup with 0-0.
Yeah, well, we know that Michael Murphy is listening this morning, so do you want to tell him that he should bring this up in the Dail?
He should certainly do it in some form or another. And of course, you have that other person on after me, Ruth Coppinger.
Ruth Coppinger, yes.
All I'd say is his friend, far be it from somebody in Dublin to tell somebody in Tipperary what to do with their pastimes, or any other county out there. There were enough of problems above in Dublin without she getting involved in this, because she was probably never at a hunt or anything else. I've been up on the hills of Upper Church Drumbain, around Bench, around Golden, around Ballingarry, around Fedot, wonderful areas, and the respect that they have for property and their own horses, and the way that it's an old tradition.
You see, I could see you up in the horse now with the red jacket on you and going, tally ho, tally ho.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Johnny. Look after yourself.
Mind yourself coming back from Nenagh, and we shall see you, please God.
See you on Christmas Eve, Johnny.
Right,
thanks very much indeed. The bound Johnny Luby there from the Fourpenny Road. All right, let's take a break. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Welcome back to Tipp Today live from Nenagh. Now, the bill to ban fox hunting in Ireland, proposed by People Before Profit Solidarity TD Ruth Coppinger, was defeated in the Dail on Wednesday. The bill was defeated by a very large majority. Reacting to that outcome, Deputy Coppinger was very critical of the government parties and others who voted against it, and she joins me now. Good morning to you, Ruth.
Hi, good morning.
And thank you so much for your time this morning. How surprised were you about the extent of that defeat? And considering, as we discussed when you last spoke to me about this, the result of that poll where 72% of people, in fact, were in favour of a ban on the sport. Were you very surprised?
Well, once the three big parties imposed their whip on their TDs, I wasn't surprised, unfortunately, because as well as that, you had Independent Ireland and Aintu that also joined in maintaining this barbaric practice. And like you said, people woke up the next day to find out that the Dáil was in exact opposite to the popular will. And there's a real democratic problem because fox hunting isn't popular. It's not popular in rural or urban areas from all of the polls and the actual scientific statistics. But for some reason, Dáil Éireann and the big parties are maintaining it on behalf of a vocal and strong but very small lobby group. And I think that what we've done with this bill is at least put this issue into the popular consciousness and make it an issue that we do actually have to protect our wildlife, our native species, and we have to challenge as well terrible misinformation on behalf of the government and also on behalf of Sinn Féin too, which people have been commenting on since. This bill never banned shooting. It didn't cover shooting at all. It didn't mention shooting. It particularly mentioned hunting with dogs or traps and snares, and that was it. And at the end of the day, there will be another bill in the Dáil again on this issue, because one thing that's happened is it's brought together a whole host of disparate groups and individuals. I've been contacted by so many people through social media, through the Dáil office, an amazing collection of people from all walks of life, and I think that we're now in a position to go forward.
Yeah, some very powerful lobbying though, Ruth. I mean, the IFA coming out and voicing their opposition to the bill. They're saying things like it's problematic because it doesn't take into account long-standing and regulated forms of fox control. They're saying the fox hunts organised, they're regulated by the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, and they're required to follow strict protocols. So very, very powerful stuff from the IFA.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I'm not surprised by the IFA, but look, no farmer looks out their window, sees a fox near their sheep and goes, oh, I must go on a hunt. I must pay money to a hunt club, spend hours and hours and hours on a horse or with dogs and chase after a fox. This is just ludicrous stuff. There's no role in predator, management or protection of your livestock. And let's face it, it's extremely rare for a fox to kill a lamb. 1% apparently of lamb mortality is due to foxes. And yet it was over-exaggerated about that. They aren't regulated either because there's lots of evidence that there's criminal adjacent behaviour in relation to fox hunting too, apparently, that wildlife rescuers have spoken about how they have found foxes consistent with, for example, being taken for dogfighting. So we all know that there's illegality around that, and there's also money being paid for foxes. So I don't think that while we weren't successful this time, I do think that we have made great strides forward. The NSPCA backed this bill. The Irish Wildlife Trust backed this bill. I was contacted by farmers, people in rural areas who detest the hunt and the arrogance and the hassle that they cause for them. And I think that people have woken up to the fact that the Dáil just has not listened. I think it's very bad on the part of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, but also Sinn Féin, I think, has been badly exposed by this.
Michael Healy-Rae had a right go at you. He described the bill as extremely misleading, and he went on to describe it, in fact, as a con job. And he spoke about the impression that this is about people in red coats shouting tally-ho and the like, but that you'd be making farmers into criminals by shooting foxes on their own land. Can you just clarify that? Because the bill, as I understand it, it would not have outlawed the shooting of foxes on one's land to protect livestock, would it?
No, and this is something that's been seized on. Look, what I'd say to people is this. They're always going to find something in any wording of any bill. If the government or any of the other people, other parties like in Sinn Féin, who've also been seizing upon any wording, there's always scope for amending things at the next stage of the bill. What he was trying to do was say that it included a farmer shooting a fox, and it doesn't. It specifically is about hunting. We made a conscious decision not to include shooting foxes. We consciously made that decision at the outset. But it's just easier for them to stir up this misinformation. Even if we had explicitly said that, they would have opposed the bill because he is in favour of maintaining fox hunting. A few other things that Michael Healy-Rae said in that debate were actually scandalous. He was dripping in misogyny towards myself and Deputy Whitmore as well. But he said we have to eradicate badgers, we have to eradicate our deer. He doesn't seem to like wild animals at all. Everything must be cleared out for farming. That's a really dangerous mindset to have somebody like that in power in the Department of Agriculture.
Well, he would say to you he is representing the thinking of an awful lot of people in rural Ireland, and he did point out that division that's there between urban Ireland and rural Ireland. And what do you make of that, Ruth? Because he was making big stuff of that.
Yeah, I know. They tried to make it, he actually tried to make it a culture war, to include it in other issues that have been debated among the left and among the right. They tried to make it about an attack on rural Ireland. I spoke at length about how actually it's government policies like in Fianna Fáil and Dail that are making life difficult in rural Ireland. I'm not in favour of everything being centralised in Dublin, for example. We should be decentralising. We should be adopting policies that do make it possible for people to live in rural Ireland, and so on. We actually debated that out in the time that I had. But rural Ireland is not in favour of fox hunting. That's the reality, and all of the polls show it. Like, for example, in that Ireland Thinks poll, every province was opposed to fox hunting, and in Connacht Ulster, for example, it was 73%. In Dublin, it was 76%. So there's very little difference in the attitudes towards this, because only 2% of people have ever participated in a fox hunt, according to that poll. So it's not a widely practiced rural pursuit. And in fact, a lot of the people who participate in it are from the city. It isn't the case that it's rural versus urban. Like, my understanding is people pay to go on these fox hunts, and some of them come from towns and cities, and a lot of them seem to be coming from the UK, where it has been banned for over 20 years. Like, ironically, it was banned in Scotland in the early 2000s, and it was banned in England and Wales then, 2004 to 5. So after a massive debate throughout society there, I do agree, by the way, people can exaggerate the tally-ho aspect, because obviously the social composition of fox hunting has changed. But it did start out as a British colonial pursuit. That's no question of that. But it has morphed, into something different.
Are you seeing some irony then in Sinn Féin's stance on this?
Yeah, I just want to say something about Sinn Féin's stance, because I was involved in the Catherine Connolly campaign, and if you recall, it came up as an issue in that debate where Heather Humphreys was getting a lot of criticism for that term, rural pursuit. And I was in WhatsApp groups with other people in the campaign, and so many people, the rank and file members of Sinn Féin, did not know that actually Sinn Féin has been supporting fox hunting. Now, I think that may or may not change at their next Ardèche, but I certainly know they're under pressure about it. But they were very disingenuous in the debate because they were, in reality, a whole number of their TDs do support fox hunting, it would seem to me, because that's 3 of them spoke, 2 of them supported it. And the other one who didn't support it then tried to, make criticisms of the drafting of the bill and all sorts of extraneous issues, but at the end of the day was going to troop in and follow the party line. And I think that Sinn Féin need to seriously look at what kind of party do they want to be. do they want to be a party that values animal rights and welfare and that sees it as an important issue?
We'll give them an opportunity to speak for themselves where that is concerned. Before I let you go, you voted in favour, Ruth, of the amendment to the Regulation of Termination of Pregnancy Act, which would have legalised abortion up to, I suppose, viability, which is 6 months, abolished the 3-day waiting period for abortion. The bill was narrowly defeated. Now, when I said you were joining us this morning, a listener questioned your empathy for foxes alongside your decision to support this bill that goes miles beyond what people voted for in the 2018 referendum. How do you answer that?
Yeah, well, first of all, there wasn't a debate on this bill in this Dáil at all. This was a bill from the last Dáil, right? I'm just saying that there wasn't a debate held. This was simply meant to be a procedural thing to reinstate the bill for further debate.
Yes, because all the bill was debated before the dissolution of the last government. Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
But there was a lot of new TDs, I'm saying, who voted on this, who hadn't participated in a debate. I'm laughing at the way that this point about abortion up to viability.
Well, it's six months, which just seem to be viability, isn't it?
Well, any late-term abortion like that will be to save the life of a woman. That's the only reason there will be an abortion in those cases. So it's a very strange, and there'll probably be, a tiny number of those every year. This was a bill to actually take away some of the barriers that are there for women at the moment, like the 3-day wait. But also, the Citizens' Assembly, if you recall, back before the repeal legislation came in, had recommended a whole range of things. That was a Citizens' Assembly that had discussed these issues out over a long time. So the bill was actually putting on the table the need to debate these issues out. For example, you can't actually have an abortion in this country beyond 12 weeks. So if you're 13 or 14 weeks, you have to travel abroad still. You can't have... Well, it's very difficult to have an abortion if your health is at risk. Again, people have to travel abroad. And one of the most scandalous situations is people are travelling for medical reasons. And there's a distinction being made between fatal abnormality and severe abnormality that isn't made in other countries, because it's actually quite difficult to distinguish those conditions.
Everything you're saying to me, I'm sure there's a lot of people that will agree with you on that, but the facts are it's not what we voted for in the referendum. And even Stephen Donnelly acknowledged back in 2023 that what is being advocated goes miles beyond what people voted for. And that was very divisive, I'm sure you remember, at the time, Ruth,
Yeah, but I mean, we had a discussion. People voted in the referendum to repeal the 8th Amendment, to take it out of the Constitution. That's what people voted for. Now, there was legislation that had been published around that, right? But that doesn't mean that legislation can't be changed after, for example, 5 or 6 years, when people review the fact that there's several hundred women still having to travel out of the country.
Right,
so
but the people who voted won't have an opportunity to be involved in that review. Then you take my point from a democratic point of view.
Well, they elect TDs to represent them. That's you can't vote on every single aspect of legislation. Right. People voted in the referendum. By the way, I am fully convinced, because I canvassed, for months on end on this issue, and I spoke to loads of people. I believe that most people in the country would have supported what the Citizens' Assembly actually recommended. Do
you believe that? That would be your experience?
Absolutely, yeah. Because once you have a conversation with people on a door, everybody knows. For example, severe or fatal fetal abnormality. If you say to somebody, do you think somebody should have to travel abroad because they have a severe fetal abnormality, but the panel of doctors in the Irish hospital think that will go beyond the legislation? Most people would say, no, I don't think they should have to.
And I don't mean to be liberal about this, but hard cases don't make good legislation, Ruth.
Well, they're not actually hard cases. This happens quite a lot.
Yeah. And do you have figures on that? Do you have?
I don't today off the top of my head because I didn't realise you were bringing up the issue, but I would have figures from before. And, like, I would have been contacted by a lot of women, including nurses, who had to travel abroad because their condition was deemed not to be a fatal abnormality. Yeah,
right.
So it's quite common.
You stick by your decision where that is concerned.
Well, when you say stick by my decision, people voted to repeal the Eighth Amendment because they heard these harrowing stories. So that's what that bill, which I didn't introduce, by the way, so,
yes.
I haven't actually been involved in it, but it was the vote the other night was preventing any further discussion of that. And I think it was a bit rich of a whole host of TDs who would have been elected in this Dáil who didn't participate in the debate but blocked it from going any further. So we didn't actually have a discussion around the issues at all, and I think that there should have been. And I'm going to be bringing forward a bill, particularly on the 3-day waiting period, because that is just scandalous that so many women, people who are pregnant, are being forced to wait, and then some of them going beyond the time frame.
All right, Ruth, we appreciate your time this morning and thank you for coming on with us. Thank you.
Thanks a million.
Good morning to you. That's Deputy Ruth Coppinger speaking to us there. 1800 938 007. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp Today on 1-800-938-007.
Big response indeed to that conversation with Deputy Ruth Coppinger. But Sinn Féin Councillor David Dunn was on to us from Carrick, and he says, how many times is Ruth going to mention Sinn Féin? She spends more time talking about my party than she does about the issue at hand. And somebody else saying, do I sense there's a crack in the so-called United Left? The government are still in power because the left are not and will never be a viable alternative. This is one of our listeners this morning. All right, Leanne is with me. Good morning to you, Leanne.
Good morning, Fran.
Will you bring us back to calm waters, please? Because you're going to talk what's happening online. People are asking questions about the Christmas dinner.
Yes, there's a conversation online about what makes the perfect Christmas dinner and what your favourite part is. So what's the part you couldn't live without?
Wow. I'd have to say roast potatoes.
Roast
Definitely.
potatoes.
I love roast potatoes.
I don't have potatoes.
Will you tell the listeners about what you have? I mean, you make me seem normal sometimes, What do you have? You just have turkey, nothing else, is that it?
And stuffing. My granddad makes this special stuffing and I'm just obsessed with it. So it's not like traditional sage stuffing like the breadcrumbs. It's actually in a loaf. So it's like kind of a loaf stuffing.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
And it's gorgeous. I wait for him to get to the door with the pan. I'm just addicted to it, and I only have it at Christmas, so then it's very, very special. So I have a plate with turkey, with salt on it, and stuffing. As much stuffing as I can get into me.
But that's it?
That's it.
No potato, no cranberry sauce, no?
Oh, no. I wouldn't be a cranberry sauce person.
Would you not? Okay,
no,
right.
Gravy if I was putting
And what about the ham? Do you have any?
I don't like ham.
Do you not?
I don't like ham, and I wouldn't be a roast potato lover either. So that's my simple Christmas dinner.
Right, okay. Would you have a starter?
No.
No starter either.
Sometimes soup if I'm really hungry.
Soup if you're really hungry. Okay, what about a dessert?
Oh, I love strawberry cheesecake.
Okay.
That is my Christmas dessert.
Okay, so that's acceptable enough now. But I can't understand just the turkey. So we're putting this out to people out there, aren't we?
What is the essential part of your Christmas dinner and what's your traditional? Because some people put sausages wrapped in bacon on their plate, which I thought was very unusual.
Sausages wrapped in bacon?
Yeah, like cocktail sausages wrapped in bacon.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's a staple to some people's Christmas dinner.
I kind of like that. But I mean, I know that the view on Brussels sprouts is very mixed, but I love them. But I love them boiled to death.
Now you're making me feel normal.
Go on out of that. Why would you not touch Brussels sprouts?
I wouldn't go near them. No, I couldn't. That'd ruin my whole day.
All right, let's get people to share with us then. Favourite part of the Christmas dinner. And if, Leanne, if you have little oddities about what you like, will you share those with us as well on 083 311 3311. Of course, if you want to speak to Leanne, you can do that on 1800 938 007.
Yep.
All right, okay. Thanks for that, Leanne. News and information is coming up, and we are live from Nenagh today.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24111.
Thanks, Matt, and welcome back to the second hour of Tipp Today. We are live from Nenagh today, and it's great to be here as always. 1800 938 007. The text and WhatsApp is 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tippfm.com. Now, delighted to be joined by our gardening expert, Ultan Nesbitt from Arabon. Good morning to you, Ultan.
Good morning, Fran.
And I keep finding out extra things about you. You were part of a hunt at one stage or other.
That's right, yeah. We used to... all my family, we went out hunting nearly every Sunday with the golden veils. It's a fantastic hunt, really, and it's very family orientated. So you'd have from your child right up to your grandparents out hunting together, and I think it's a fantastic social event for people to enjoy. Now, really, there's a lot of controversy with the foxes and hunting, but really 99% of the time foxes get away. I mean, as you say, clever as a fox. A fox will always know how to. It knows the land where it's from and how to avoid hounds as well. So really, if there's anything that is captured, it's usually a fox that is very ill or has a lot of mange on it, and really you're doing kind of a favour for getting it out of its misery when it's in that state. But I have to say, hunting is a great time to have with your family and with your friends as well. It's a very social event.
And are you surprised there's such controversy about it? I mean, we had that bill. I was speaking to Ruth Coppinger earlier on, who proposed that bill to ban fox hunting completely. Now it was completely voted down in the Dáil. But are you surprised about the controversy?
I am really, because see, I'd say it's from people that don't understand the sport. Or the social aspect of it as well, because it is such an important part in country pursuits, really.
Yeah.
So it's an important thing for farmers and for landowners in the area to go and to eradicate.
And the result of that poll, that 72% of the respondents said they would support a ban on it. Now, as it turned out, there was another interesting figure, which was that 98% of the people polled didn't really know anything about it, had never taken part in it. So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's more done by ignorance, really, that people are against it. Because if they went to any of the hunts, they'll see how it's a great respect to have for the landowners, particularly the farmers, because I mean, only for the farmers, you only have the land that you can travel through. So I mean, it's very, very important.
Will you talk to me about that? Because again, some farmers onto us to say, sure, they come and they trample through our land and they break down our hedges and blah 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 and all sorts of stuff like that as well. How do you answer that?
Yeah, really, with most of the hunts, they would have a team that would come after the hunt and to fix repairing any fences or any damage done to land, or even stone walls or anything like that. They would repair them. So generally there's a thing there, and as well as that, there's a strict guideline as well with hunting through land as well. You always keep to the headland, so that you don't do any damage to any of the fields as much as possible. And generally all the fences are repaired after the hunt has gone through.
Well, it's very good of you to come in to talk about gardening, you end up talking about hunting. But it's good because we couldn't get anybody to speak on behalf of those who go hunting for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a lovely sport. It's a thing that it's great, especially on St. Stephen's Day, to go out with your family, enjoy the day, getting rid of the cobwebs. And a day's hunting is fantastic, and it's very exhilarating.
Well, it's great to get both sides of the argument. Will you talk to me about gardening then, which is what you came in to do? Now, the last few weeks, you came in with like lots of beautiful colour and all sorts of things. It's a little more modest today because you're going to talk about bare root hedging. Is that it?
Bare root hedging, and this is one of my favourite time of year is to plant your hedges. Really, and to think about. Let's say for privacy, or even for as a windbreak as well, or even to create a kind of more formal looking garden if you wanted to as well. So we do a large selection of bare root hedging and trees as well. So really we have a thing there called the Anis glutinosa. And Anis glutinosa is a lovely tall tree and very quick growing actually. And it loves wet ground. It's an alder tree, and red alder is usually particularly used for windbreak. So you'd often find it in around orchards or around fruit trees as well, that they have the trees planted around to stop the wind from, let's say, just in the springtime, you get a storm that tends to knock off the flower buds. That gives it a good windbreak the whole way around. And they're quite tall and nice. Lovely dark green oval leaf on it as well, and particularly quick growing as well. Other trees then, of course, that everybody knows as well are the lovely beech trees, beech hedging, and we do the copper beech, which is the lovely kind of enormous black purple leaf on it, or even the green beech, which has a fantastic autumn colour. You have that lovely burnt orange or the gold leaf on it in the autumn time. Again, these make lovely hedge. You often find them in stud farms and things like that growing along, and it just puts a lovely look to a property really, and especially in the autumn time when you have that colour. Again, I would always plant those nearly 7 per metre and do a staggered row with them to make it kind of stock proof, because you wouldn't want getting cattle be able to break out.
When you say staggered, you mean some behind the other?
Yes, so you do kind of 4 and 3.
Yes, okay.
So do a staggered row of it, about a foot and a half apart, and they'll make a very sturdy hedge for you. Other things that are very good, very indigenous as well, is the whitethorn. And I love the whitethorn, especially when it's in full flower. You have that lovely mayflower that comes out in it, and a lovely scent off it as well, actually. There is a lovely one called Paul Scarlet. It's a lovely deep pink-red flower that you could plant every so often in amongst your whitethorn hedge, which is a nice contrast to have. And they're almost, if you leave it grow as a tree, you almost have that kind of mushroom-shaped, nice, neat head from it. So it has that almost kind of formal look to it as well that you can have. Whitethorn is probably very, very hardy as well. It will grow where most other things won't. So really, if you're very exposed site, whitethorn I would highly recommend as a good hedge. Again, it's lovely as a round top hedge as well. If you just trim it, just as soon as the flowers have faded on it, give it a trim, and that will keep it nice and compact in habit as well. Again, plant about 7 per metre for those as well. Other things that we have as well are the Scots pine, and a lot of them, these acre schemes that we have for the farmers, that we want to have indigenous trees planted. So Scots pine, alder, your oaks as well. We've lovely Quercus oaks, which are particularly good. Even the thing called Rosa rugosa, which is kind of like a dog rose, which is nice as well. And also the holly. And the hollies are quite good because they're lovely evergreen. There's another thing called Arbutus unado, which is a Killarney strawberry tree. It's indigenous to Ireland as well. I know a lot of people don't know about it really.
I never heard about it.
Yeah, it's an edible fruit, an edible strawberry that it produces. And it has lovely evergreen foliage on it. But I love the thing about it as well. It's like a brilliant reddish colour on the bark of it as it grows, as it matures. And it also has these lovely lily-of-the-valley type flowers, white flowers on it, at this time of the year, which is kind of an unusual coming into the autumn, into the winter, that you'll have a plant that comes into flower. So that will flower now, lovely lily-of-the-valley type flowers, and then you'll have the beautiful evergreen foliage right through the winter, and then in the spring, summer, you'll have the lovely strawberries as well, the little strawberries. So they're quite a nice thing to have, with your Arbutus unado and your lovely evergreen hollies as well.
Very good. Where hedging is concerned, our place is full of Grissolinia. Is that kind of gone out of fashion now? I don't see it as much as I used to do.
Well, you see, Grissolinia is a lovely hedge, I have to say, but and there's lovely variegated ones of them as well that you can get. But they do tend to get, once you get a severe frost,
oh my God,
it tends to cut them right back down to ground level.
Absolutely.
And they don't really cope too well with very cold weather. And we've had that kind of every 10 or every 20 years, you get a severe frost that does kill them, kill them out of it. The same thing as Escalonia. A lot of people would have planted Escalonia as well as a hedge, which is quite a nice hedge as well, and lovely flowers, the apple blossom particularly, and they're great for the bees as well. But again, they're affected by frost. So I always think things that are hold the test of time. So things, another lovely evergreen as well is actually yew, and it's very formal kind of a hedge, and that's quite a good thick hedge, a good evergreen hedge. And Taxus baccata, we have those as well, and they're quite nice if you want a more formal looking hedge. Let's say almost like a box hedge, really. Yeah. Or you can do those lovely topiary shapes to it as well, which are particularly good, and they're particularly nice in a ornamental garden, really, because really with you wouldn't have that now where you would have livestock, because it is quite toxic.
Yes.
So you don't want to have any poisonous plants. There's another thing called Euonymus europaeus, which is the witch hazel. You often see that growing wild in the hedgerow as well. Lovely pink berries on it, which is quite unusual, and then has brilliant autumn colour from it as well. But again, you have to be careful of what plants you do use in your hedgerow, so that you don't have anything that's toxic to livestock.
6 sleeps, I think, to Christmas. The Christmas arrangement. So, what advice do you give people around that?
Yeah, I love arrangements that are quite low and neat, especially on a table. So you get these lovely garlands. You can or even make up a garland as well. And I always love to add in a lot of the pine cones, and even the thing called Thuya emerald, or there's Thuya occidentalis, the smirga. These are quite good orangey scented conifers, and they're lovely to put into your garland, or even into your wreath as well, your Christmas wreath. And also there's a lovely thing called eucalyptus. And eucalyptus foliage, that lovely blue foliage that comes from it, that's a lovely contrast with the lovely thuyas, or even the holly as well that you would use. So have a kind of a mixture of foliage in your garlands, or even in your wreaths as well. Again, a lot of people would add cinnamon sticks as well, or even the dried orange, which is quite nice as well in an arrangement. But even I would always tend to have even rose hips. And there's lots of rose hips. Like a lot of people would think, oh God, all the berries are gone from the hollies and stuff like that. But you use other berries. There's lovely rose hips berries, or even a thing called Cotoneaster. It's a Cotoneaster hybridus pendulus, which has that lovely weeping shape to it, but a massive red berries on it that you can use in your arrangements as well. And it's always nice to have fresh arrangements like that made on your table arrangement, or on your wreath.
Absolutely. And where the wreaths are concerned, are they kind of gone out of fashion to some degree, and can you make your own?
Well, you can make your own, and I think even just a plain holly wreath is lovely.
Yeah.
Just all holly itself, and you can get. There's lovely different varieties of holly that you can put in it. There's one called J.C. Van Tal, which is a lovely self-pollinating variety. They will have plenty of berries on it. Or you have Silver Queen, which is lovely silver foliage, or even the Golden King, which has lovely a splash of gold on it as well.
Yes.
And you can incorporate those into a holly wreath to have that lovely shape to it and colour without anything else. So even just using with holly itself, you can do a lovely display from it.
Finally, will you talk to me about indoor plants? Because, I mean, if you have people over for Christmas, I mean, plants are gorgeous to have around, particularly if there's a scent.
Exactly, yeah. And I love things that have good, strong scent from them as well. So things like the hyacinths are particularly good. And they come in a variety of colours. These are the bulbs, spring bulbs, really, that you'd have. And you could have a bowl of hyacinths on your hall table. And the waft and the perfume from that. Now, you can get it in pink or blue or even white as well. I always think the pink one is much stronger. There's a stronger scent from it, and that gives a lovely waft. There's also other things called paper white or a paper white daffodil, and these are a lovely type of narcissi daffodil. They're kind of multi-headed daffodil, and they have a lovely scent off them as well. Or even a plant that's good for show, really, I suppose, is a thing called amaryllis. And the amaryllis are almost like big speakers that come out from it. You know, those are like a megaphone. And they are particularly nice because they're quite a tall, slender stem that comes up from it, and then these lovely large flowers from the top end of it, which give a lovely display. And again, they come in a variety of colours as well, and very easy plants to grow. Any of the bulbous plants are quite easy. They do their own thing. They come on very, very quickly for you, and a lovely scent from them as well.
Very good. Well, it's lovely to see you as always, and thanks for coming into us. You're working right up until Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve until 1 o'clock, yeah, that's right. So we have loads of lovely Christmas ideas in store.
All right. Always good to see you, Ultan. Thanks very much indeed for that. We're live from Nenagh today. We'll take a break. We're back with more Tipp Today in a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, a conversation sparked on the programme this week around whether women should be given the opportunity to serve as priests or deacons in the Catholic Church. Now, this followed reports that a high-level Vatican commission voted against allowing women to serve as deacons, or to be ordained, in fact, as deacons, maintaining the Church's tradition of an all-male clergy in a recommendation presented to Pope Leo. Now, Catherine is a Tipperary woman who's living in Glasgow, and she joins me now. Catherine, good morning to you.
Good morning, Fran. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's great. And we asked you to contribute to this, and you've kindly done so indeed. What do you make of all of this, and where do you stand on it, Catherine?
Well, I'm glad that they voted against it, honestly, because the Catholic Church doesn't teach male-only priesthood because women lack ability or worth. It teaches it because it believes priesthood is a sacrament, like a gift received from Christ, not a role society can redefine. And people can disagree with that, but it deserves to be understood on its own terms, Fran.
So these, as far as you're concerned, Catherine, this is one of the rules of the Church. And do you feel it shouldn't even be questioned then?
Yeah, I think maybe some of your listeners might not know why is the vocation of the priesthood reserved for men. And I suppose God the Son chose to become incarnate as a man, and the Catholic Church upholds the truth that priests act in persona Christi, which is in place of Christ. And they give out the sacraments, such as whether it's the Eucharist as well, different interactions with the public. And I think we can't have women in this. It's not about being against women. Only men can be fathers and grooms, just as only women can be mothers and brides, and thus only men can act in persona Christi, which we already have spoken about. And it all leads up to the sacrament of the Eucharist in the source and summit of our faith, which is the Mass. It's not about solely just preaching, which we would see in Protestant churches.
And do you not believe then that dogma or church rules, or the church in general, should evolve and maybe reflect the times we live in then, Catherine?
No, I don't think so, Fran. I think that what John Paul II said in 1994 in his Ordinatio Sacerdotales said that no women priests, not because women aren't capable or worthy, but because it's Christ's blueprint given to us by God. We can't just change it because we feel like it's not maybe modern enough, or it's not a modern leadership or management tool. our church, you know.
Yeah, John Paul, my understanding, but correct me if I'm wrong, Pope John Paul said that in fact the church has no authority to ordain women as priests. And then what do you make out that even though that's been upheld, there is talk that, you know, that this will be addressed again down the road somewhere?
I don't think it's worth, I suppose, talking too much about it, to be honest. I understand why people might disagree about it, but I think at the end of the day, it's not about male worthiness. It's about who do we say Christ is. If we believe that Christ is present in the Eucharist, that Christ is a male, then we'll have respect for the teaching and the authority of the church. And it's not about competition, but about Christ's gift to us in the Eucharist. Like I said earlier, it's a sacrament. It's not necessarily a rite. And it's a free gift for everyone. But some people maybe in other areas of society might want to dismantle that. But that only leads to destruction. And at the end of the day, it's not about a power trip or wearing a collar. And it's the priesthood is about service and dying to self and to live for God and others. And there's many good priests who are doing that as well. But that's not a knock on women, because we've seen so many fantastic women. And look at all the saints as well that we have. St. Catherine of Siena, St. Teresa of Avila. And if Jesus wanted to pick a woman, he would have picked his Blessed Mother to be an apostle as well, to remember that as well. And I think the church honours women's gifts, just not in a priestly role. There's so many beautiful nuns, mothers, lay leaders, people evangelising, writing as well. So let's not forget about that.
And what do you make of, and we heard from Father Tony Flannery a couple of days ago on the programme, of the Association of Catholic Priests, for example, Catherine, expressing deep disappointment at that decision by the Vatican, as they put it, once again rejecting the notion of ordaining women as deacons and, needless to say, as priests as well. When you see experienced priests who have spent their lives dealing with their flock and all of that, coming out and saying that this, you know, we need to move on here.
And move on. Well, I don't think that was right what he was saying. No disrespect to the guy. But I respect his opinion. And it's not like importing, like I said earlier, modern management categories. Let's just bring in women to fill this role in leadership. It's not about that. I think I would ask him, you know, who does he say Jesus is in the Eucharist and sacrament? Because that's what he's representing. His maleness is representing when he carries out the Mass. So that'd be my question back to him.
Yeah, it's interesting, but and still, just to pick you up, just to repeat, and I alluded to it earlier on, there's yet another call for further study. Even though this is the decision of the Vatican at this point, they really are kicking the can down the road on this, because they're saying further study is needed. So this is more of a postponement, really.
Postponement. Yeah, I don't think it's a big issue of discussion at the moment. I think there's other more important issues that need to be discussed. That's not to dismiss people's questions around it or maybe heard around it. However, I think we can still strive to be a saint in our day-to-day lives. There's so many beautiful women that have become saints, men as well. And I think are people looking at it as a source of power or what? I'm not too sure, because I think this shouldn't stop us from being involved in our parish as women, using our gifts and talents. And the church would promote having respect and dignity for women in society. You know, this is John Paul II championed women as well, at least Women in Genius document. So I think it's worth looking into.
And just to be pragmatic about it, I mean, you know, we were speaking to Father Michael Toomey about this recently, about how difficult it is now just to even have Sunday Mass every Sunday, and we have parishes amalgamating because of the lack of priests. Just to be even pragmatic about it, do we not need to have the option of women priests just to make sure that we have Sunday Mass?
I can see why people would say that, Fran. However, that I still wouldn't agree with that. I think that what the church has laid out is pretty clear, and I think it is a call to pray for more vocations to the church, pray for more vocations of good priests to come into the church to be able to give us the Eucharist. And I think also would be refreshing, I'm sure, as well, to have more women who are nuns involved in our parish as well, so perhaps praying for vocations as well to the sisterhood. And I think that if more emphasis was on that, instead of trying to reconfigure a kind of a modern strategy of let's just put women in, we're dismantling what the Lord has called good, which is Christ and his maleness in the Mass. So I don't see why people want to push for that. But
and if this was ever to be introduced, the idea that, you know, deacons could be ordained, or female deacons could be ordained, for example, how would you deal with that then? Because your faith is very strong and very fundamental, Catherine. So how would you deal with the introduction of that then?
How would I deal with it? I think I'd obviously speak the truth in love, Fran, if you were having back on, if that was introduced again. But I think we're well warned in Scripture that you'll know the false prophets by their fruits. So a lot of these videos I'm seeing of these deaconesses or deacons in the different churches in America, sometimes they start their own thing doing this. They're pushing for compromise in other areas as well of Catholic teaching. So I'm not surprised that this would happen. I, for one, would be against it. I would pray for more of an increase in the vocation of priesthood, but I definitely would be very clear that I am against it. Not as to dismiss women. It's not about that. It's not about competition. I think we can use our gifts in different ways. We have to honour what God has set out. The church hasn't even authority or popes to change this. This is his Christ blueprint for us. It's not about us trying to make it our own as women.
Yeah, one of the things that really, really annoyed people who believe that women should be ordained was the introduction of that piece in the report that said the masculinity of Christ, therefore the masculinity of those who receive holy orders, is not accidental but is an integral part of sacramental identity. Now that annoyed the hell out of so many people because it's so absolute, Catherine, but I presume you would go along with that, would you?
Well, yeah, that's who Christ is to me. He's a man, and I think that's what the Catholic Church, teaches, and it teaches it because it believes priesthood is a sacrament, a gift received from Christ, not a rule society can redefine. And it's just my point. I'd reiterate again.
Very interesting indeed. You're a Tipperary woman living in Glasgow. Are you coming home for Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh, are you? Excellent.
Yeah, Christmas Eve, so I'll be back in Tipperary. Looking forward to it, Fran.
Excellent. Well, thank you for taking up our request that you would speak to us on this to give it some balance, and always good to talk. Happy Christmas, Catherine.
Happy Christmas to you too, Fran. God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye to you now. And that's Catherine speaking to us today. How do you feel about that? 1800 938 007.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp Today on 1-800-938 007. Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tippfm.com.
Welcome back to Tipp Today live from Nenagh. Delighted to say our psychotherapist Joannes Berkery is with us. Good morning to you, Joannes.
Good morning, Fran.
I think if we ever needed a psychotherapist, we need one around Christmas time. It's a different, you see, you have all the ads and you have all the nonsense around it and everything's wonderful and we're all happy and it's going to be great. But for a lot of people, it isn't.
That's not true. That's not true at all. It's not all happy and it's not all great.
Yeah.
I wrote my Christmas cards last night, and it would be much easier to write down Happy Christmas to you all. And I wrote in them, may you have many happy moments over Christmas, and when you don't have happy moments, may they pass fast.
Oh, okay.
Because there's no such thing as a happy Christmas. There's no such thing as the whole experience being happy.
Yes.
There's moments that there's loss. It's a time we kind of press pause and look back to previous years, and there's always loss attached. Like, we're singing the same hymns that we sang 55 years ago.
Yeah.
So, like, that repetitive practice and ritual is bringing up memories, like, from many, many years. So there's always nostalgia. And some people go, well, I had a good year, I didn't lose anyone, but I always feel lonely. Let the loneliness be there. Let the loss, let the melancholy be there. Don't go digging for it, but when it comes...
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it,
yeah.
Be with it and go, Oh, yeah. And this will pass too.
That's very interesting, because most of us would try and dismiss it and compartmentalise it in some way.
Yeah. And most people, when they do that, anything you suppress, grows and it takes over. Like I heard A Holy Night last week at a choir practice, and I cried.
Yeah,
I've no really good reason to cry, and I just let it out.
Yeah.
It's better out than in. It's better off do it there to practice than do it somewhere else. So we have to acknowledge that there's no such thing as Happy Christmas or Happy New Year. Every year has moments of challenge, frustration, rage, pain, disconnection, fear. And they have happy moments too. So we need to kind of be broad enough to see the whole picture, because if we think the whole thing is going to be happy, we're setting up for failure straight away.
And, if you're in a situation where a lot of people are gathering together to celebrate Christmas Day, for example, and you have all of the usual characters coming together, and you add a few drinks to that, and you have sort of the nostalgia stuff and memories and slagging and,
Yeah, it's put drink on top of it and just get a match and set it off to light. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we revert back to being a child. You have an inner child in you, and I have an inner child in me. And we revert back to that. And if our parents are alive, if whatever Mammy gives Mary or Josephine and she doesn't give it to me, then that's a whole thing of, I'm not the favourite, or...
And I never was.
And I never was, and I was never good enough.
Yeah, God almighty, yeah.
And everybody's trying to dress up and look well, and then you overeat. I know when I overeat, I go into a self-sabotage place and my inner critic is ignited. And you're doing that. And I don't drink alcohol, but if you put alcohol on top of that... And it's just... And then you have the television telling you, Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and not acknowledging. And then some people, it was interesting, I had a client yesterday and she said, Christmas Day is a shite day. And I said, no, it isn't. Because there's moments in it that's going to be good, and you're going to see when you put out the bread for the robins and you're going to watch them and you're going to go, God, they're amazing, There are good moments in every day and we can look for them, but that doesn't mean to say, we deflect from our pain and our loss and our fear and our disconnection. So I really recommend people get out of the house, go for walks, go to a room, put on your headphones, don't listen to anything, just put them on so people aren't...
Yeah, so something that always I find a bit strange is that we often put ourselves into situations that we don't like, often every Christmas, because we're afraid to say, look, I really don't want to do that this Christmas. I don't want to go to that house. I don't want to meet up with Auntie, whoever. Why we continue, though, because we feel obliged in some way at the risk of our own happiness.
Absolutely, because this whole marketing plan of Happy Christmas and don't rock the boat and fit in and blend in and forget about your own needs. So to go off and go for a walk or go down to a room and just have time out for yourself. People don't do that. People don't attend to what they need.
Yes. And should they?
Of course.
Yes.
Because you need to have the moments where you can just be with memories. My father's passed 36 years and I still remember him with his socks, and that brings up nostalgia for me. And I remember him and I think about him. I had many.
And you allow yourself to do that.
And I allow myself to do it. And I allow the emotion come up and let everything passes. The good times pass, the difficult times pass.
So preparing yourself then for it in some sort of, is there a kind of, I don't know, is there some advice in terms of preparation for dealing with Christmas?
Well, I think just to avoid the kind of getting into the frantic marketing, is one way of doing it. Just
now, it's very difficult particularly if you're a mum of young kids. It's very hard to avoid that, isn't it?
It's very hard to avoid it, but avoid it as best you can.
Yeah.
So that you're not caught up in the rat race of it.
Yeah.
Do things like we've a beautiful tree of remembrance in Nenagh here above the courthouse. Like, go up there and spend a moment and just reflect. Or if you're not a church goer, go into the church when it's empty and light a candle for yourself and attend to your own kindness and to your own softening.
Yeah.
We kind of push everybody listening to this today, and you and me, we have enough, Fran. And our loved ones have enough. We don't need to keep going and going. And I think sometimes we overextend when we think we're not enough, or it compensates for relationships that maybe are bad, so we buy something really big so we get back in again and back connected.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, therefore we have to talk about money and finances and so, because some people go to the pin of their collar to afford Christmas, and they end up then paying back for months and that kind of thing, which obviously has an impact on people's mental health.
Oh,
well,
absolutely, yeah. And that's the marketing thing, because people are kind of trying to get this happy Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, and it is happy Christmas is not true. There's happy moments in it, and there's joyful moments, and there's fun moments, and then there's moments where it's ouchy moments, where it's painful and you're remembering, and it's all of that, and no money is going to get you to avoid those.
Yes.
It's just about it's almost like letting it all be there and being kind to yourself with it. And it's not all bad. And some people are really grieving this Christmas, but there will be moments in it that'll be okay too.
I'm just thinking about the brand New Year, and I'm thinking particularly about people who might have been putting off dealing with, you know, the difficulties they might have had over the years, particularly as children and stuff, and they might have been pushing that to... Is there something to be said for looking to the new year and saying, finally, I'm going to deal with some of this stuff that's been a burden to me for so much time?
Yeah, it's my busiest time.
Is it?
Yeah, January, with new people.
People saying, I have to deal with this.
And they don't need referrals. Like, people think you need a doctor's referral to go to a psychotherapist. You don't. Yeah, people are kind of going, enough is enough. Or there's that dissatisfaction after Christmas. It hasn't worked.
Yes.
And then, of course, the sales come on and there's more spending to see will that fill the void. And sometimes people may hear this, that I'm enough, I have enough, and yet I have no joy. And start exploring that. Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to do that. And I presume all the nostalgia around Christmas as well, Joannes, you know, you're going to be looking back and you're going to be sort of, you know, poking these issues as well. So maybe that's why they come to you in January as well, you know.
I think it's also that clean slate, that this is a new year and I don't want this time next year to be still dealing with this amount of anxiety or this amount of self-sabotage or this amount of pain, or I want to talk now, I want to be heard. And they have it's almost like there's a clean slate.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of hope.
And do you find people coming to you and saying, look, I'm here in front of you, but I'm not sure if I should be. I'm not sure if my issues are profound enough that I need to come to you with this. But obviously it's something that has been harming them for years and years. But
people always say that, because once again, it's like you talking about Christmas, you go just to keep the peace. People never think that they're deserving of help, that they're deserving of therapy, that they're deserving of self-care, that they're deserving of self-exploration, especially women. It's very sad.
Especially women.
Yeah. You see them coming in and then they go, oh, you know, Johnny needs braces and I can't come anymore. But Johnny also needs a mother that's grounded and connected to herself, and that... So
she's depriving herself of help.
Yeah.
Because Johnny needs braces and the like.
I've heard that, and I'm just using that as an example, but that's a very common kind of one, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that particularly a mother would be willing to say, I'm going to continue on even though, you know, my heart is off.
I'm all right as I am. And a lot of people around sexual abuse or physical abuse will say, sure, didn't I survive it? Hadn't I grand?
My God.
Yeah.
But they're not grand.
They're not grand.
Right.
As long as they're keeping all that inside and silent and taking on that blame and taking on that shame, they're not grand.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually take too much in therapy sometimes to deal with this. Sometimes it does. Depends on how long they're silent about it. Yeah, but it can be worked through.
Yeah, and those of them who would say to you, Asher, look, maybe I should just leave that, and but still they're with you, so they know somewhere in their hearts that they need to deal with this, I guess.
They do, but I would be encouraging people to come weekly, because it's like you boil the kettle and the kettle is on the boil and the water is hot, and if they don't come then for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the kettle goes off the boil, so you have to start digging again. And stuff that's deeply buried is much better given a space every week for a few weeks and see where it goes. And they're not willing to do that. They might be willing to come every month, but you have to kind of almost dig again. And it's very hard. Therapy doesn't work once a month, generally.
But they have to build up a trust with you.
They have to build up a trust with me.
That would take a certain amount of time.
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that I'm a nurse and midwife really helps, because people perceive that as that I have a good overall view of the human psyche. And
just to look back over your own career, are we any better now at dealing with issues that might be haunting us? Are we any better with all we know now, I suppose, than maybe when you started in practice first, Joannes?
I think we're better now. But you see, I'm dealing with like I used to work for the HSE.
Yeah.
So I have a private practice now for couples and individuals, and I'm dealing with the people that can afford it. And usually they have hope and they know that what's happened to them, they don't deserve it. But I don't think for people, that can't afford therapy, I don't believe there's enough supports there for them. And I don't believe there's enough hope for them. And they have that feeling of, I don't deserve it. Yeah. Like a medical card doesn't give you therapy. Now, there is places you can go and there's free, but then sometimes they go, we'll give you 6 sessions. And 6 sessions doesn't work, because by the 6th session you're starting to trust your therapist, maybe, if you're lucky. And then it's a limited amount of therapy. So if people are trying to get therapy through their doctor, through different centres around, always ask, is it limited, and can that limitation be extended?
Well, what a pity that just because somebody can't afford it, that they have to put up with a situation, that they're unhappy or depressed, or, isn't that shameful? If people want to talk to you, Joannes, how can they?
086 338 3398, or go on my website, selfdiscovery.ie.
All right.
And I wish you many happy moments, friend, over the Christmas.
I'm looking forward to some of those happy moments, and happy moments to you as well. Lovely to see you.
And when they're not happy, I hope you have a good outlet for yourself.
I have. It's called a glass of Merlot.
And that works for some.
All right. Thanks very much indeed, Joannes. We're live from Nenagh today. News and information's on the way.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Good Pat, and welcome along to the final hour of Tip Today. We are live from our studio on Pierce Street in Nenagh. It's time for our Friday panel. I'm glad to be joined by Imelda Walsh. And Imelda, of course, has been doing this panel for a long, long time. Too long, I suppose, Imelda, in some ways.
Maybe your listeners might say that.
Not at all. Not at all, indeed. Donal Luby is back with his former soldier. Kevin McSherry is with his owner of Open Season here in Nenagh, and he was our guest on the programme last week. So you're You're all extremely welcome, and thank you. Let us begin with Micheál Martin, because he mounted a rather robust defence of his leadership at that tense meeting of the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party, and in the days since, as fresh criticism emerged from TDs over the party's widely regarded failed presidential election campaign. The internal unrest followed the publication of a long-delayed review of the campaign, which saw the former Dublin football manager Jim Gavin, as you know, who had been strongly backed by Micheál Martin to be the Fianna Fáil candidate, abandon his campaign after it emerged that he owed a former tenant more than €3,000. Miller, can I start with you on this? Is this done and dusted? At this stage, is it time now for them to move on?
It's not. It's most certainly is not done and dusted. I would imagine even after the last night in their meeting, I would imagine there's more anger within the party. I felt Micheál Martin, even in the interviews preceding that meeting, that I think in particular of the interview with Louise Byrne and how irate he got. Oh my God, exactly, unbelievably so. And like, she was only asking the questions that everybody out there wants to know. Now, at the same time, we're 10 weeks on, and in relation to issues that are going on in the country, whether it's homelessness, whether it's housing, whether it's health, there's so many different issues out there, and yet this is going on. But I think it's going to rumble on. It's going to rumble on into next year. Whether he's going to be there beyond the spring, I'm not so sure. Now, I see the other night Shane Coleman nailing his colours and thinking he will be. I'm not so sure he actually will. I think over Christmas, when TDs go back to their constituencies and everything else, and when they're out and about meeting people, I think within the Fianna Fáil family there's a lot of annoyance in relation to all of it. I actually felt with Micheál Martin, even I felt certain sympathy for Jim Gavin. I felt he was further throwing him under the bus in relation. So, yeah. I do, yeah. And even in relation to Fiona Sheehan, like nearly blaming Fiona Sheehan that when you came to us initially, and if
shooting the messenger.
Exactly, if a reporter comes to you and asks you, did you do your due diligence? You can know, well, there's a story there, and you need to dig. And I would have thought that there would have been, if there was any rumour of any impropriety whatsoever in relation to what it was, and there was further stories out there in relation to Jim Gavin in his personal life and everything else, I would have thought that you'd certainly, and even when John Lahart, one of their own, well-respected Fianna Fáil backbencher, came and had concerns and everything else, and even when you look at the vote, when you saw that Billy Kelleher got 29 votes and Jim Gavin at 41, he wasn't like Jim Gavin wasn't hugely ahead in relation of it. But for me, the most disappointing part this week was when Micheál Martin was still suggesting that there was nobody within the Fianna Fáil family that could step up to the mark of. That's what I thought was really disappointing.
That was remarkable,
and for Fianna Fáil, I was talking to a card-carrying Fianna Fáil member who was maybe a little bit of sympathy with him prior to that, but when that was stated, was very, very annoyed in respect of that, and thought it quite insulting in respect of the people that were pushing their names forward. It would have been incredible, like having been through the ranks of looking at Cynthia Nimorokua and Billy Kelleher, that would have gone through Mary Hannafin, people that would have fought elections, and that
so it was insulting to them, you think. Kevin, what are you making of this?
Yeah, I suppose, even Bertie Ahern rang them to say, I'm still kind of interested, and you might love Bertie Ahern, they never returned his call. A former Taoiseach, former leader of Fianna Fáil, you'd think they would have at least returned his call and said, maybe, we don't think you're our man this time, but they never returned his calls.
And Kevin, what do you say to the criticism that maybe those of us who are fond of politics and like political anorex and that sort of thing, and we're in a little bubble about this, we think this is important, but normal people are out there and they're trying to make a living, and they're trying to, they have...
That's true, and you know what? Probably the worst thing that came out of the whole election process was it nearly reinforced people's opinion about Irish politics. The lowest turnout of any election, I'd say, in probably modern history. Total disinterest. We were just talking amongst ourselves there outside. None of the candidates really, would fire enthusiasm. For me, anyway. People spoiling their votes. Things I've never... You'd hear traditionally the odd spoiled vote, but very close to a mass protest of spoiled votes.
And do you think politicians will ignore that at their peril?
I think, and the more that goes on and the more disenfranchised and removed from the process people feel, it's probably leaving the gate open for more extreme options to come to the fore. But what I think is possibly funny about Micheál Martin, the old saying, all political careers end in failure.
Yeah.
And I suppose Micheál has been on the stage quite a while now, so it's probably just a question of when the failure will come rather than when the end will.
But I wouldn't write him off.
No, I wouldn't write him off. He's been around a long time.
For sure. Donal, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it just proves, to me, what I've always said, politicians have no interest. The constituents and the country come second. The party is first. And this is what happened. Micheál Martin was looking after his own career. His constituents are second, the country is second. All his deputies, especially deputies here in Tipperary, they'll just read from a script. I heard them being interviewed on your show. They'll read from a script. You've asked them the tough questions. What do they think? They won't answer. They'll do what they're told by the dictator. And Micheál Martin is a dictator. But he's not on his own.
No, last time I put that to a public representative, I was put back in my box on this thing. So I'm sure Fianna Fáil people would say, no, that's not the case, that he's a dictator.
Yeah.
Maybe he has a circle of people around him that make decisions.
Well, what sort of person that, as he said here, Bertie Ahern rang him, getting no answer. Other people, Kelleher was invented. They were ignored. Micheál Martin said, this is my man, this is it. He got the warnings. He still said this is it. Right. He's still saying it today.
Yeah.
He has no remorse, take no responsibility whatsoever. And unfortunately,
he didn't apologise. There was no mea culpa.
And his deputies are backing him up. And this is what happened in the presidential election. I've had this debate with you. I told you I could never stay at home and not vote, but I spoiled my vote this year. And they are getting the message. And if they don't get the message, it will be at their peril, because in the UK, Nigel Farage will be the next Prime Minister in the UK, which I would thought would never happen. But this is what happens when you don't listen to good people. President Trump is president in America.
Because you'll have the more extremes filling that void then, is that it?
Bernie Sanders said it in America. He said, if you want to know who got in Trump, it was the Democrats. Because you don't listen to good, decent people. The government are saying things now that you would have been called a Nazi for 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because they won't listen to the people in Roscrea were good, decent people, and they were portrayed as Nazis, and this needs to stop. And they'll carry on for another while, but they will suffer.
Do you think they will?
They will suffer. The people will eventually. The good, decent people, not the scumbags and the rioters, not them, but the good, decent family people.
Hardly a council. I think I'm not sure now exactly, but there was hardly a council nominated a candidate in the end in the election, was there? Yeah. They were all closed down. Most of the councils.
Most of them were closed down.
And it was predominantly by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. They just didn't want anyone else on the pitch. Yeah. So again, a bit like what you're saying, deprive the people of choice.
And before I move on, can I put to you what I put to Kevin? There's a lot of people out there struggling this Christmas.
Yes.
I mean, the cost of living is through the roof, particularly if you're living on a pension or something like that. Do they really care about the inner workings?
Well, I tell you who doesn't care.
Who chooses
I tell you the people who doesn't care that's struggling this Christmas is the middle. The person that's getting up every morning and going to work. Or the persons on the dole, which I have no problem calling. Young people that's not working today are layabouts. And I'll stand over that.
Why? Because there's jobs available.
Because there's thousands of jobs. You're a layabout. I would give you some food stamps, and I'd be generous with that.
Well, they might have genuine.
No, out sick, fine.
Right.
But if you are offered a job and you won't take it, you get nothing from me.
Yeah, those who are struggling, Imelda, what about that? I mean, is this important to them? And so much airtime given to it.
People must be so frustrated. And I agree with Donal, and we were talking about outside, the whole middle Ireland, we say those people, they got absolutely nothing in the budget. And we alluded to this before, was saying that the cost of mortgage, energy costs, childcare, all the things the government promised to do and to address and everything else, they did nothing in respect of any of that. Listening to this morning, to Morning Ireland at 8 o'clock, was in the car area this morning, and they were from the Capuchin Centre, and they've never had such queues of people. And it's a whole cohort of Middle Ireland. I just know someone that works with Vincent de Paul in another county, and people in the past that would have been giving donations and helping and supporting. There's a new cohort of people.
We're the fifth richest country in the world.
And that's what's so embarrassing about all of this. We have failed miserably in relation to looking after our people. Absolutely, it's dreadful, and everything else. Yeah, and
and that's the thing, Kevin. Isn't that what the conversations need to be about, as opposed to the structure of how Fianna Fáil decides on a presidential candidate?
Yeah, I'd say most people, it soured them again even more with the whole political system over how we arrived with the president, the whole election, the lack of choice, the councils couldn't nominate candidates that were told from Dublin. And then people are feeling, I think, disenfranchised, fed up. Like we said, the budget, nothing for the working middle. So
Nothing.
Leo Varadkar said, years ago that they were for the people who get up
Go
and go
early
to
in
work.
the morning.
Probably
Yeah.
the worst thing he ever said that he was recorded saying, because
It came back to haunt him.
It came back to haunt him. And you know what? In the new year now, we're all going to pay more to have our houses connected to the electricity grid.
Great, yeah.
And again, I thought that went under the radar a bit this week. It was announced, and it was reported on RT one morning briefly. But again, another small insidious charge stuck into everyone's budget for the year. And it's just another creeping expense that, you have to pay, you have no choice.
And as well as that,
ESB,
yeah.
ESB Networks, I was talking to a friend last night, and I could be corrected, but I think they made $1,000 million profit last year.
Well, they certainly made a considerable profit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Imelda, yeah?
But like you small and medium-sized into businesses as well, like yourself would say, Kevin was saying, and the cost was
Racked
rates
with overheads.
and all of that exactly. Rates and I was just talking to a business here in town would say, exactly, and everything else, and for a lot of people, it's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, because you have auto enrolment coming in January as well, which is going to be an extra cost on businesses, and increasing wages, extra bank holidays, extra sick days, and this is huge pressures on small businesses.
What we get a lot into the programme, and it might be a superficial look at our politicians, but it appears that they're more concerned about what's happening in other places. Now, I know what's happening around the globe. I mean, there's huge issues out there, and we have a part to play in all of that. But that is a perception that's out there as well.
Of course it is, Brian. I mean, when I seen the president of Ukraine getting 150 billion, I was disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. This man comes over here, and then
25 million,
his government is corrupt. It's been proven.
There's elements of corruption there. Yeah.
You mean they have a problem with Nazism in Ukraine with their Nazi battalions? Right. It's been proven.
But they are fighting a war.
They are fighting a war. I mean, but I keep saying it. Just because Russia's bad doesn't make Ukraine good. And now there's another loan. And I'm thankful that it is a loan, that the Belgians stood their ground, because they're not going to be on the hook for the Russian money, because believe me, Putin will get his money back. I think he will.
So what about that perception that maybe there's more of a concentration on what's happening elsewhere?
Ireland will always be the best boys in Europe. This is their thing, and it's not just our government. Our opposition parties are complicit in this. Sinn Féin was against Europe. They voted twice to virtually dismantle Europe in the Maastricht Treaty and the Nice Treaty. And now they're the best boys in Europe again. So we have this problem with Europe. I disagree with Europe completely. I would love to see the day Europe is dismantled, the European Union. I know it is. I'll stand over it. Yeah. The European Parliament have no rights whatsoever. They have no voting rights. They have no power. It's the Commission. A bunch of people that none of us voted for.
You're nodding your head at that.
Yeah, Fran, I suppose I'm even thinking in relation, put on my farmer's hat now, in relation to Mercosur deal this week. We had France and Italy out with saying that, and they're the ones that have called the halt on it. I did not hear a definitive no from either our Taoiseach or our Taoiseach in respect of it. To me, as a farmer, that is hugely disappointing.
Right. And we got it postponed until when? January at some point?
January, exactly, and everything else. But just because, only for the Italians and the French stepping up to in relation to and I think with the Italians in particular, what they saw, the work that was done with the IFA and the Farmers Journal in respect of exposing what's happening in Brazil.
Yeah, because they came to it very late.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm disappointed at is both our Taoiseach and our Taoiseach no definitive that we're with you here with saying that a bit airy-fairy, a little bit too airy-fairy for my liking.
Michael McNamara gave a very good quick speech in the Parliament there a week or two ago about how there's virtually no testing for drugs or for
there's
various
nothing
stuff
in that.
in Brazil.
Exactly. This has been going on for the last 25 years.
To produce
the
to a certain standard and allow it to be imported from Brazil. It beggars belief.
And I think even in relation,
that,
exactly. But that's and it goes back to Donal's point with saying that, like, we want to be the best boys in the class, but we're not willing to stand up for our own. Like, you have to look after your own little cohort at home first of all, our own people and everything else. But I would have thought in something as simple as the Mercosur deal, but like whether there was side deals done in relation to derogation. Like we saw the poor fishermen there, they've been thrown out to sea with no lifeboat.
Derogation was the side deal for Ireland.
Well, sure, but why at the cost of Mercosur? At the end of the day, like any of us that are for food, and it's for all of us. As a producer, I'm also a consumer. So when I go in to buy something in my butcher in the supermarket, I want to be assured that what I'm buying is actually a safe product, not full with hormones and everything else, all the health issues that will bring further down the line.
Okay.
Plus, there's also the environmental thing. I believe the rainforest. Brazil cuts down on a massive amount of rainforest every year just to provide more pasture. So.
And what we're turning a blind eye to all of that.
Well, exactly.
Sell cars, I believe.
So the Germans can sell more cars into South America.
And we're all on the same planet. We're all on the same rock. The Greens don't get this
and then
at all.
The cars burn more fossil fuels, and there's less forestry to eat up.
I'm surrounded by a bunch of cynics here. All right, let me take a break. We'll be back with our panel in just a few moments. We're live from Nenagh today.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're very welcome back to our Friday panel of Kevin McSherry, Donal Luby and Imelda Walsh. Can I just get you to respond, if you would, Donal, to Councillor David Dunn of Sinn Féin? He says, another person allowed to talk nonsense about my party on your show. He said, we've always been critical of the EU, so that statement that was made is totally false.
Well, first of all, Dave, he's entitled to his opinion, but there you go again with my party. He's looking after his party. The facts are clear.
Well, in fairness, I mean,
yes,
he's
but the facts are clear.
Yeah.
Sinn Féin stood against Nice. Sinn Féin stood against the Maastricht Treaty. It would effectively brought down the European Union. Would have done a lot of damage anyway. And now they have no problem with Europe. I have heard Sinn Féin never condemn Europe recently. They're totally with Europe. So I totally disagree with the man.
I'm sure on various different issues, though, they would voice their opposition. Anyway, we'll talk to Davy soon, and we'll give him a chance to rebut what Donal has the cheek to be saying there, and other people as well. We move on. This week, the bill to ban fox hunting in Ireland, proposed by People Before Profit Solidarity TD Ruth Coppinger, was defeated in the Dail. We spoke to Ruth in the first hour of the programme this morning, but 24 TDs voted to amend the Animal Health and Welfare Act of 2013 to ban the hunting of a fox or foxes and to provide for related matters as well. However, 124 TDs voted against, so a comprehensive defeat there, particularly when you consider that a recent poll showed that 72% of the people polled were not in favour of fox hunting and would like to see it banned. Can I start with you again on this, Imelda, if I could, because the IFA voiced their opposition to this and they urged TDs to vote their opposition to that particular bill. So fox hunting, Imelda?
Fox hunting, okay, as everybody probably knows, I'm not a fan of it. Do I want it banned? No. Okay, to me, Fran, my concern would be far wider, even in respect of the fox hunting, in relation to going down that road. The next thing is, are we going to ban shooting? You know, lads go out shooting pheasants in November. Are we going to ban fishing? We already see a huge pushback in relation to the export of live animals, and they're trying to stop that. A couple of years ago, and they're still probably there, the Go Vegan movement, the whole image of the cow with the calf and taking the calf off the mammy and how terrible it was and everything else was saying that. We seem to be more concerned in relation to, I suppose, animal welfare. And while animals need to be, animal welfare is up in most importance, but I just thought it was ironic the other night in the Dail, while they were voting on the fox hunting, immediately afterwards they were voting in relation to aborting a baby at full term.
We spoke to Ruth
and
about that.
And I would find that hugely disturbing, in the sense of, would say that, you know, she was very concerned in relation to the fox, but nothing about the baby and humans. That would gravely concern me. I suppose we say, Fran...
Well, she would say to you that she felt strongly about the plight and the position that certain mothers were in where abortion is concerned, and some of them still having to travel and the like. And I'm just voicing some of what you said
exactly.
to me earlier on.
But Fran, I would have thought, would say, in relation to the legislation we brought in respect of that somebody would say all of those things were covered for in that bill up to the appropriate time, and I'm sure with medical science as it is, that any of those difficulties or fatal fetal abnormalities, they're all detected at that time. I've been told that would say very early in the pregnancy.
So to the fox hunting, because if we go down the road of abortion, we'll be hearing
exactly.
So
I would be concerned, we'll say, if we start banning things, we'll say that where does it stop? Is this only the tip of it? We'll say that. I suppose I wouldn't be a huge fan of it. I don't like coursing either. Do I want to see any of those things banned? No, I don't, because I think that's the extremist. You can have a personal opinion in respect of something, but banning something is wrong.
Kevin, you're in a unique position here by the nature of your work and being involved in hunting and all of that kind of thing. What do you make of the bill, first of all?
The bill, I just found, I'm no legal expert, but I found the wording in the bill at the very start very unclear. They say any legislation should be pretty clear, but it says, I had it on my iPad but I left it outside, hunting of a fox or something. Like, that's very wide. It doesn't say, it appears to say hunting a fox under any circumstances.
No, because it would not have outlawed the shooting of foxes on somebody's land to protect livestock, for example. So that they were very clear about that. Yeah.
Okay.
But what about in general? Because, to tie it into your own, Imelda was concerned that the goalposts would be changed then as the road goes down in terms of hunting in general.
The other thing with foxes, they're an apex predator. They're at the top of the food chain. There's nothing that chases a fox or kills a fox naturally in Ireland. So they are at the top of the...
Right. And the population is on the increase.
And they're not the only animal. We have the same problem, with deer. We have an overabundance of deer. And again, they're both lovely animals. They're beautiful and they're gorgeous.
Well, you're saying they have to be managed.
But they have to be managed, and whether we like that or not, we have to manage them. Like, you have deer causing accidents on motorways.
But surely, and don't shoot the messenger here, but what Ruth would probably say to you would be, fox hunting by its nature isn't a very efficient way of dealing with the population of foxes, just by the nature of it. It's just cruel, she would say.
Well, I don't know what other way would you manage the population.
Well,
the same way.
Culling in some way.
Well, culling, but
you have
culling still involves shooting them.
Yeah.
But
I think it's the hunting she has an issue in relation
with the
to
hounds.
With the hounds, it's the type of hunting we're saying that, because naturally, look, you do need a deer cull in relation to TB, the same with badgers and everything else, and that's, to me, is very, very acceptable in the sense that, if you have disease, you have to, and if animals are identified as carriers of it, we'll say that, it's like badger baiting, we're saying that, we now have a vaccination programme in respect of it.
I've never gone fox hunting by horse or with hounds. I've never actually done it. But I wouldn't stop anybody who wants to do it. I think it should be a matter of choice. That would be my...
All right. What about you on this, Donal?
Well, I don't believe that Ruth Coppinger brought in this bill to stop the cruelty against foxes as such. I mean...
Well, it was a bill to ban fox hunting.
It was, but if she's genuinely interested in cruelty to animals, I'd be more interested in banning sulky racing. Which horses are ran till they drop dead.
Well, in fairness to her, she did bring up that, and she felt that the financing of greyhounds and horse racing in this country.
I'm not talking about horse racing now. Okay. I'm talking about sulky racing. Okay. But I don't think she'll bring that up because she'll be upsetting the wrong people. Pay every pint. This organisation, they're obvious victims. They'll be on.
So you think she should be broadening out her conversation?
Yes, and I think she picked on fox hunting. I think she picked on fox hunting because it seemed to be done by probably the rich and the gentry and things like that. I think I'm being cynical.
I'd say there's very few hunts in her constituency.
Yeah, and I'd say there's very few hunts in her constituency. I think herself now and her communist friends, this is the way. This is what they're on about, and I have to say.
Are you trying to insult everybody today?
I'm not. But I'm happy with one thing that the bill has produced. The left is not united. And we
You're going to start talking about Sinn Féin now again,
I'm not going to.
Yes.
But no, Ruth Coppinger brought it up, and it just goes to show they're not united. They're only united in one thing: if you don't agree with us, you're a Nazi. That's the only thing they're united in.
Right. So what does that say for future government of the left? Then, do you think?
I don't know. It's never going to happen. Yeah. It's never going to happen. What we need in this country is we need centre right. That's what I believe in.
Okay, and the bill to ban fox hunting, she said it'll come up again. It will be brought up.
I don't
again.
think so.
And that maybe next time round that the views of the people will be taken into account. With so many,
I don't think so, because
so many ordinary people believing fox hunting should be banned.
I don't think she understands rural Ireland.
Well, a lot of rural Ireland people
Possibly.
in the poll were voicing their opinion that this should be banned.
And I possibly could agree with them. I hate to see cruelty towards animals.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about fox hunting. I just know, I listened to your gardener expert on this morning.
Ultan, yeah.
I'm open to persuasion and things. And he kind of did persuade me it is a social event and things like this. And
you know,
we have to be very careful before we start cancelling out things.
Yeah.
We have to be careful,
anyone I've ever spoken to, and I used to sell equestrian products like 20 years ago, but my own impression from dealing with them was, and I know you'll start another big argument about this, but they actually rarely catch a fox.
They do actually,
yeah. Very rarely actually catch the fox.
The fox is way too clever.
The fox is kind of
we spoke about
gone.
this in the past.
But we did have those unfortunate images of foxes being torn apart.
And I think that's what people probably, and I think the majority of people would not be in favour of. If the fox in the hunt gets away, it should be let away. But if, and I don't know what the correct term in relation to if they dig it out, that's wrong. And I think the majority of people, in my opinion, maybe people think it's perfectly acceptable, but nobody applauds cruelty with saying that. But you have to.
What do you make of what Donal said there, that maybe she'd be better employed to bring in other aspects of animal welfare as well, whether it is sulky racing or what?
Well, you can't just target one. If you're going down that road, it has to be a much broader sweep in respect of it. We'll say that, But there are pursuits in rural Ireland. That would be my one concern, that when you start cancelling things and banning things, you're opening the floodgates in relation to other activities that pursue within rural Ireland. And it's a huge part of our industry here in relation to tourism, people coming here fishing, people coming here for, lots of other activities that they enjoy.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting that in the UK, where this all started off, the notion of the hunt, they banned it over there.
They banned it over there, I know, and a lot of people come from over there, come here in respect of it, we'll say that. And I know you can have the drag hunting and that, and I know people say in relation to the horses and jumping over fences, and that's a wonderful pursuit, and it's lovely for younger people and everything else. But we just need to be careful in relation
Kevin,
to driving it
you were
on.
Saying?
Yeah, but banning it in the UK, it's a real sign of the urbanisation of a population where, like Ireland, the population is becoming more Dublin-centric and city-centric the whole time. So, you do a poll like this, and you get a weighted response because the population is becoming more urbanised.
We're assured
and it's definitely the case in the UK.
We're assured that it was a scientific poll and that it was weighted in some sort of fact. And just before I leave it, as a farmer, can I ask you, because some farmers got onto us saying, they traipse across our land, our ditches are damaged, our fences are damaged and all that sort of thing, and sometimes without permission, blah, blah, blah.
It is, we'll say that. I suppose for me, we'll say, and I suppose it's the one thing that I don't buy into when they say in relation to it, it's that it's managing the fox population, we'll say that. With sheep farmers, the biggest concern would be dogs. Dogs coming onto land and everything else. And we saw that piece on Near to the Ground there last week, we say, with the farmer, with the sheep lads coming on with lurchers, and they having the sheep pinned into a corner and threatening the farmer. He dash cam on his Jeep. Other than that was the only way he could get rid of them. But they torturing the sheep, they blooding the dogs with the sheep, and that to me, the dogs is a far bigger issue. And you'll every year, Fran, I'm sure you'll have somebody on from IFA in relation to saying that is always the biggest concern is the dogs, rather than like the fox will take the lamb to feed its young. It's not, it's not going in. Whereas if a dog goes in, it completely destroys that herd of sheep.
It's become a big problem at night time in rural Ireland, are dogs being hunted.
We had them on our own farm, we'll say that. And the lads that were on, they were actually quite aggressive, and they had this lamp where they can spot it far off, we'll say that, the dogs. And that is wrong.
All right, let me take another break. We'll be back with our panel in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp Today on 1-800-938-007.
Welcome back to our Friday panel of Imelda Walsh, Donal Luby and Kevin McSherry. I say it all the time, but some of the most interesting conversations are the ones that happen during the break, that's for sure. Earlier this week on the programme, Father Tony Flannery from the Association of Catholic Priests spoke of his disappointment at the Vatican's decision to exclude women from becoming church deacons. Now, this came after a high-level Vatican Commission voted against allowing women to serve as deacons, maintaining that the Church's practice of an all-male clergy, according to a report given to Pope Leo on this. Donal, do you want that first of all? What about, did that surprise you?
Not really. I actually heard this interview, and he struck me as a lovely, lovely man. He lives in the same place I live in, Newport and Tipperary. But my problem is, he wants to change the rules of an organisation or a club. If you don't like the rules of a club or a church, leave. This is what I done. I was born a Roman Catholic. I'm now a Church of Ireland. My two main reasons is I follow Martin Luther's teachings. I follow the gospel. I love Jesus. But I believe that the Pope isn't the God's representative of earth. I don't believe that. I don't believe a priest has the right to forgive sins. I do believe that women should be allowed to be deacons. I do believe that women should be allowed to be priests. The most wonderful woman that ever existed to give birth to our Lord. So I think this is what he should seriously think about doing.
Jump ship.
Jump ship. He strikes me as a wonderful, wonderful man.
He is, but again, I put something similar to him, and he said that he felt that it was his duty to be within the organisation that he loves, the Catholic Church, and reform and attempt.
Yeah, but you see, I think the Catholic Church, this is what the Roman Catholic Church is doing now. They're trying to reform and reform and reform. They will, to get more people into their church. We know why the majority of people left their church. It's over the disgrace of the abuse of children and the fact that they denied it. This is why people won't go into church. So they're trying everything. But they shouldn't. As an organisation...
Well, in this case, they're sticking to...
Yeah, well, in this case, they are. But they've changed their minds on a lot of other things. And that's up to themselves. But personally, if I don't like the rules of any club or any church, I will leave.
You leave it, yeah. Imelda, what do you make of this?
I feel it's a missed opportunity. I think that women can play a huge part in relation to the church and the fantastic work that's done. Like, like women, we read at Mass, they give out communion. I think, we say, in a lot of cases, being deacons, like, even meeting families of bereaved or whatever, or, Chris, whatever, you can have empathy in relation to the families. I think women are quite good at that, perhaps maybe more so than males were saying that. Like, I do take Donal's point, like, rules are rules, and if you don't like them, you can always leave. But I think it's a missed opportunity in respect of the huge amount of benefit and positivity it could actually bring. We're saying that, like, being a deacon in particular, was saying that it's, I think that in the world we live in, the world has moved on, the world has changed, we're saying that, and I don't see what they see as the threat. And as regards to the abuse, like, that happened in all churches. It's not just in ours. We're saying that, to be fair, we're saying that it was across other religions as well, and not just here in Ireland, it was across the world, worldwide, and in other institutions as well. I would have liked to have seen females. I think a lot of priests out there and a lot of bishops out there would have also liked to have seen it.
And because we heard from other members of the Association of Catholic Priests as well, and many of them believing that. However, I think, and I read this a few times because it's affected me so much. Part of what was presented to the Pope was this: the masculinity of Christ. And therefore the masculinity of those who receive holy orders is not accidental. In fact, it's an integral part of the sacramental identity. Now, just the very fact that they published that in 2025 is remarkable.
It's remarkable. And when you go back and think, our Lord would say his gracious friends were women.
Yeah.
And that's and I know the 12 apostles, you can say they were males, was saying that, but would say, he had lots of women friends was saying that he was very, very close to, and everything else was saying that. I think it's a huge missed opportunity, and I think going back trying to go this masculinity thing was saying that it's maybe a bit of femininity mightn't do them any harm with saying that, because as females we do look at things differently, and it's like it's across, not even within the church but even broader than that, for a long time across many organisations you see them male dominated, and it is hard for women to break the glass ceiling and getting into them. But I think there's a missed opportunity.
Well,
myself, exactly, exactly. But in GA, co-op boards, everything across the country would say it, and CEOs of companies, predominantly male, was saying that. But I do think there's a huge opportunity. Women bring a huge different perspective.
How do you feel about this?
I'd have no problem with female deacons. Not that I'd be meeting any of them. I'm not a great mass goer, but no, I'd have absolutely no problem. They're missing an opportunity. I'd be more. All the companies, if we had more women running more companies, I'd say a lot of companies would be running a lot smoother.
Do you think?
Oh, I'd be absolutely convinced of it, yeah. A lot less ego probably coming to the table as well. I mean, you see it in business a lot.
I've known women heading up companies with plenty of ego.
Plenty of ego, but I'm not saying that women are egoless. We don't want to offend anybody, but no, I think a broader representation at senior level would be good for everybody.
Right, but comparing the church to a company, is that fair?
Yeah.
I mean, here you have...
I'm not really. I'm just saying more women in general,
Here you have a history, you have a culture, you have the whole makeup of the church. It's a very different case,
what you read out there from the report,
masculinity of Christ.
Yeah, but you see, you have to also bear in mind, at that time, it was a more masculine culture. So you're transferring a 2,000-year-old social system and continuing on with it 2,000 years later. Dermot Ferreter, the historian, gave a talk in Nenagh a couple of years ago in the town hall one night, and he was excellent. He'd launched a new book, and he said the biggest pitfall in history, when you're studying history, is to read about something that happened years ago and try and look at it through modern lenses, today's glasses. So it's kind of the flip side of that.
Exactly. The Catholic Church will tell you today, and their teachings, that the reason why there is only male priests is because Jesus chose male apostles.
It's a property right.
But Jesus was a Jew back in them days, and Judea, and it was male. Where he wasn't. Could you imagine if Jesus approached a woman back in them days and said, "I want you to follow me"? First of all, her husband wouldn't particularly like it. So it was male up.
I was always,
and we have to. We're looking back to that world, and then come to this world.
Do you not think where the church is concerned? I mean, far be it for me to give advice to the church, but if they wanted to get more people in the doors and keep them, I believe that a more fundamental approach like this would work, because what I mean is people are looking for certainty nowadays, I think, Imelda, rather than this kind of a la carte, father trendy version of it.
Without a doubt, we'll say, and it has to be real, it has to be relevant to the world we live in today. We'll say that because we'll say the people in Ireland or across the world in 2025, Ireland. And we'll talk about our own country here. We won't bother talking about some places. You go back to the Ireland in the 60s, it's very, very different in relation to... I met a friend the other day and we were just talking about when we would have been in secondary school, which would have been in the start of the 80s, and the Anne Lovett case and everything else, and in relation to pregnancy and all of that, and how far we have moved on in respect of where we're actually today in relation to where we see a baby as being a very welcome, a gift of life and everything else, whereas before, if a young girl, you were shunned with saying that you were the talk of the parish and everything else, and you were thrown away into a Magdalene laundry or a mother and baby home or something else, was saying that, and that was under a male dominated church. Exactly. I actually think a female, if you have more women in anything, was saying that you get a much more rounded, you get different viewpoints and everything else. That's not saying that I want to throw the baby out of the bathwater, without a doubt. But we have to move and we have to make it relevant to the world we live in today.
Interesting. Yesterday on the programme, Susan Gray, the founder of Park, an organisation for family members affected by road tragedies, called on the Minister of Transport to leave families alone to grieve at the roadside. Now, this came after the Transport Infrastructure Ireland group and the Department of Transport's Policy for Local Authorities said memorials are now not allowed on motorways, dual carriageways and roads with a speed limit of over 60 k. A lot of people opposing this and making the point about how important it is to have people remembered where their lives were taken. Kevin, how do you feel about this?
We were actually talking about this at home this morning, and I suppose there are issues if you put a monument on the side of a motorway. The speed the cars are doing, if people stop to try and look at it or pull up or slow down, you have a genuine problem with speed and danger. So I was thinking this morning, would it not be a better or a possible idea if you took your monument and put them somewhere near the entrance to motorways for the section ahead for the next 200 or 100 kilometres, And there you had your monument for the people who had died on that stretch.
No, from my experience, there are very few of these on motorways. Most of them are on secondary roads.
Like the N7, the old road to Bird Hill from Nenagh, for example.
So how do you feel about them being on those roads?
Well, that road is an 80 limit. Oh, no, that's a 100 limit. So that would mean it can't be on that now either.
Yeah, well,
but you could have a structured, organised way where you do have a monument.
Several points being made on it, but one of the points made that maybe if you see this and you're speeding, maybe
that's what I was thinking.
It's sobering in some way.
If you came to the entrance to a road section and you said, this is a memorial for the 20 people have died on this road in the last 50 years, these are their names, it could act as a memorial and as a reminder to slow down.
Right.
All in the one, and you keep everyone happy.
Well, I lost my brother back in 1977 with a drunk driver in Borstacane, so I know where these people are coming from. I agree with Kevin not to have the memorials on the roads, because people will stop and slow down to look at it, and it can't cause accidents.
You couldn't do it on a motorway anyway.
Yes. And this is coming, so I know you'll probably get some calls in from people saying, oh, he has no respect, but I do, because as I said, I lost my own brother.
Okay.
But what I will say, the best gift you could give to people who's lost family members is the government to get off their arse and do their job.
Well, in terms of road safety?
As you said, road safety. And the sooner we bring in speed cameras, the better. Believe me, I drive in the UK, I drive buses in the UK. You will not go into a bus lane, you're fined immediately. Yeah. You will not speed, you're fined immediately. The fine is gone, it's out. And we need more ad campaigns, especially with young people, with drink driving.
We're convinced.
And speed.
And drunk driving.
And drunk driving. We need to see, and we need to show people, we need to show people in this country what will happen to you when you're caught.
Well, we're convinced in my house. We all know that the road traffic deaths are creeping back up kind of incrementally now every year, and it's anecdotal, but I'm convinced it's mobile phone usage. You just walk, if you walk around Nenagh here and cross the zebra crossings, you'll come to the zebra crossing and they're driving the car and looking at their phone down here in their left hand, and it's now we've all done it. Anyone who said that they haven't done it, but we've all done it, but it's highly dangerous.
You can drive up to 100 metres. You can drive up to 100 metres in less than 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And we forget about that.
And this is what causes the accidents.
But we've tightened up our drink driving laws and penalties and rules. Yeah. I mean, I know lots of people who used to have a couple of pints and drive home. No one does it anymore.
No.
So if we've tightened up those things, we increased our penalty points by 50% a few years ago. You used to get 2 penalty points for speeding, now you get 3. So you used to get 6 chances, now you get 4.
Unfortunately, I have to disagree with Kevin on one thing. He said nobody's doing it anymore. They are, because the figures are showing it. The arrests, the convictions.
Drug driving is bigger now than drink driving.
People are not listening because
27% to drug.
People are not listening, and the people that the guards called to over the weekends, with all these young people being killed, every single one of them young people, or every single one of them parents, never thought the
knock could come to their.
I said it to you already, friend. When I was in the military, we had to call to a house. It wasn't. It had got to do with an accidental discharge. Well, that's what they called it, an accidental discharge. And the chap that was with me in the car, we arrived up, there was a big party going on in the house, and I was getting out of the car to go in with him. He said, hang on here, we'll sit here for another 15 or 20 minutes. I said, why are we going to do that? Because in 15 or 20 minutes, we're going to go in and we're going to destroy their lives.
Destroy somebody's life.
So let them have more, 15 minutes more.
Well, what you're probably dealing with is drug and drink driving, and they're on the phone while they're drug and drink driving. You know?
The penalties need to increase. And
does it concern you that the numbers are going up?
The numbers are going up even here in Tipperary in the last week. It's very, very sad. And to go back to your question initially, was saying that.
By the way, anything that we're talking about isn't making reference to the recent deaths on the road.
No, not at all. No. And it's very, very sad. And the numbers were saying that. But I see on the motorway, even to be doing the 120, you're basically in the way. You're in the way. Yeah. I would not. We have memorials on the old N7. We have on a little side road near me where a lovely young man got killed 17 years ago last June. And, it's very respectful. And it does, Paul, I agree with Kevin, at the start of the motorway, I would not be in favour of them being on the motorway. I think it's a distraction. I know a couple of months ago I was coming back from Dublin, and there had been a crash going into Dublin in the sense that somebody had walked out under a bus. There had been a fatality, but the amount of cars that were coming out, I actually thought there was something wrong at the traffic coming down, but it wasn't. People are slowed down because there was a lot of ambulances, there was a lot of fire brigades, a lot of Garda presence and everything else there.
So there were rubbernecking.
And people, and that would be like, but I find I see from people coming off slip roads, because I'd be on the N7 quite a bit going towards Dublin, and they come off the N7 and they're jumping over to the third lane and straight across. It's a lot. I would be hugely concerned if there was something there that would be a further distraction, and that's not in any way not having sympathy and empathy with people who've lost their loved ones on motorways and everything else. But there has to be a more respectful way and a safer. I would just be concerned. But I do agree with Kevin. I actually think it's a fantastic idea at the start of it. It might make you stop and pause.
Just really quickly, because we must wrap up, Kevin.
We're saying we need more penalties, and I think if you've increased penalty points from 2 to 3 for speeding, right, that's you're getting your maximum return for your penalty points already. Why don't we try positive reinforcement? So if you've no penalty points, I've been saying it for years, why don't you get a discount on your road tax?
There you go.
There you go.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's what's needed. All right. There I must leave it, but thanks to Kevin and to Donal and to Imelda. Excellent panel, and thank you for that. That's it from me. Leanne produced, Annie looks after our content. Stephen has the time tunnel on the lunchtime show, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Look after yourselves in the meantime. So from Nenagh, bye-bye.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie. Every